We're live! Breaking news. We just got to get the machine. Remember the tickers? That doesn't sound like a dated reference. What's up, everybody? It is Sportskeeda Wrestling. Wherever you're watching it, Facebook, YouTube, hit the like button, hit the share so you don't stink. All right? Subscribe. Bing. Turn the notifications on. Let people feel what you're feeling. Get your comments on screen. I'm at Kev Kellum. He's at Jose G Official. There, we got all of our plugs in the first 30 seconds. We're effective. A lot to get into in this episode. Braun Strowman may have said maybe a little bit too much about what's going on backstage at WWE. Am I correct, Jose? He may have given away a little bit too much of what's going on last week at Monday Night Raw. As so many people are critical of Monday Night Raw, he may have said a little bit too much. We're going to get into this in a minute. And speaking of, the scandalous rumors and trash bag gate, it continues. What is trash bag gate? We'll get into it. If you're with us for the first time, once again, hit that like button. Get your comments on screen. I'm seeing some regular faces. I want to hear some new faces. Tell us where you're watching the show from. Let's get into our opening story here. Yeah, you guys can follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, on all the socials, whatever social works for you, okay? If we need to get a MySpace page, tell us. We'll do it. Jose, let's get into this Braun Strowman story. I told you about this, and you were like, what? Like, really? And it's one of those things where you read the headline, and you're like, fine. Last-minute changes in WWE. This is a normal thing. But this story may have revealed he may have talked a little bit out of turn. I don't know. I'm not saying he did something bad, but did he pull, sometimes WWE, they'll tell you everything, but you won't get everything. And they hide that last little bit, the most important part. What do you think of this story? Because I'm going to read this quote here in a minute.
First of all, I think that maybe Braun divulged more than he should have. I don't know. There was referencing of people being sick,
Jose, you're muted, buddy. Hang on. Let's set you back up. There you go, bud.
There we go. You hear me?
You're good. Yeah, you're fine.
There we go. Sorry about that.
What were you saying?
Sorry about that.
He may have said too much. He talked about people being sick.
Yeah. It was crazy because I thought that he might have said a little bit too much during his interview. He had an interview with Bleacher Report, and he was talking about people backstage dealing with people being sick, staff changes, storyline changes, booking changes, just all on the fly right there. Especially last week was a really good example of that. But you have the quote per se. Mm-hmm. What exactly did he say during this interview? Because
this is an interview he did recently. This was with Bleacher Report, so very viable. This isn't wrestling news with a Z BS, right? This is legit. And he goes, "The boys and girls in the back, we work really, really hard in regards to Raw. A lot of people have been chaotic." He said it's been chaotic because everything that's been going on all over the place. People get sick. Things change at the last minute, and part of me enjoys that. I'm not going to lie. So he enjoys the chaotic element of it, but what he's obviously referencing is we're still in a pandemic, right? We're still in a pandemic, and this is the slightly more controversial part, but I think the more we go on, the more, I don't want to say that this becomes normalized. Maybe 6 months ago, this would have felt controversial. It doesn't so much now. The more telling part of this is he kind of went on and he elaborated. This past Monday was a prime example. Everything was crazy because people got hurt. People were sick. Second time you said that. And stuff changes. All of a sudden, you're in 3 matches in an hour and 10 minutes worth of a 3-hour show. You're freaking out. But when you get out there and get it done and hit a home run, it's such a satisfying feeling. I will say this, people very rough, but he did have a very unique presentation last week, wrestling in 3 different versions of relatively the same match over 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean, he occupied the first third of the 3-hour show. So just think about that they had enough trust in Braun Strowman to be like, all right, well, you know what? We don't have anything else down the pipeline. We're just going to let you run the show for an hour. So It starts off on a 2-on-1 handicap match. Then it moves on over to a tag team match, then on a 1-on-1 match in the main event. So maybe this is showing a little bit more confidence on Braun Strowman. I don't know. But it was really telling of him just kind of giving his perspective on what was going on last Monday backstage on where he got in the position that he was in.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, you know, that commitment to Braun Strowman as the larger than life character. And if you guys are a fan of Braun Strowman, hit that like button. If you're not, show us your reactions, how you feel about him, even if it makes people think they don't like our video. If you're not a fan of him, sound off. You got a button, you don't want to say something, hit a button. All right. With Braun, he is one of those guys where you've seen him presented in a certain way, like he is a larger than life attraction. He is special. He's in that big show category where they're going to put him out there a lot, but they're going to treat him like something. And there's been other times when he's kind of treated like a goof. A few months ago, you had this guy getting poured with Nickelodeon slime by Shane McMahon, but then he goes out there and has this big cage match and has a WrestleMania moment with Shane McMahon. And you don't get those all the time. So it's this wavering thing. And, you know, last summer he was the champion on SmackDown. He was the top guy, but a lot of people thought that run wasn't that great. I mean, say whatever you want about all those other things going around him. They were in a challenging situation and he stepped up. That, I mean, there's no, even if you didn't like the show, you have to admire that this big guy lost a bunch of weight, clean, like is eating clean, working clean, doing some different stuff. You can tell that he's getting the ring, trying to do some different things, not trying to do more than he can. Obviously this talks about COVID, but this is a completely different thing. Like if this was like November of last year, this would have been wildly crazy. Now we get into the conversation. I don't know. We don't want to get political or anything like that. But at what point do you start hearing about more wrestlers doing vaccinations? I know we've heard about you know, Triple H, Paul Levesque, Steph McMahon has said it. Several people on NXT have said it. It is something. Is this something where you think WWE is going to mandate it from the roster?
I don't know, man, but they already have a huge campaign across all three brands. Yeah. I mean, they have a huge COVID-19 vaccine campaign on Raw, SmackDown, and on NXT, showcasing each of the talent from that show. So I think they're doing what they need to be doing. It doesn't say that it is referring to COVID per se, but we're only just making assumptions on the basis of the people who are sick. Sick can mean so many different things. So you could have the sniffles, or you could just have like diarrhea or something like that. People being hurt, legitimately hurt. So you know, sometimes you got to take it with a little grain of salt, but it is newsworthy because we never get to hear confirmed stories from an actual superstar just divulging that type of information from a recent show.
I do think it is just a general sense of, you know, people being more open about talking about COVID protocols and different things like that. There were some people, you had Kevin Owens, who flat out said, like, we need to start testing. We need to start doing this. You had Sami Zayn saying, I'm going to come back when I feel safe. Roman Reigns, great example. Guy said, like, I don't want to do this until I feel we can do it. And then WWE responded and got on board and went that direction. Mind you, the pandemic changed. So they kind of changed with a fluid situation. And I get it. You know, but at the same time, like I don't see WWE saying you have to get this, because I don't think any company can really legally do that. Some smaller companies will make that risk, but some companies maybe they just don't want the smoke. They don't want the political uproar of the whole thing too. So I get it. I would hope that everyone does the right thing and gets a shot. That's just my take, but I don't speak for everyone out there. You can't tell everyone what to do. Other people chiming in. Kenny saying more vaccines means more fans sooner. Yes, that is something we are covering. We do have a couple of videos from last week. If you want to check them out on our channel on Facebook Watch or on YouTube, covering that. WWE seems like they're rallying some horses. Who's going to do it first? AEW or WWE? That's what everyone's talking about. Well, I can tell you, I'm going to be live, socially distant wrestling this Friday night. Fight TV, baby. AAW. Go check it out. It's on my Twitter. Let's get into our other big story here. Chelsea Green, one of the most recently released superstars, has released some more information. What has she got?
Yeah, man. So Trash Backgate continues. So
this story never goes away.
It's not going away anytime soon. If you guys remember last week, or was it a week and a half ago, where Mickie James received her personal belongings in a box in a garbage bag with a sticky note saying Mickey on it. Well, apparently, former WWE superstar Chelsea Green received the same over the weekend. So let me bring that up real quick. Let me take off this overlay.
Okay.
But yeah, man, it's crazy. So because we've seen already that the personnel has already apologized, but things just keep trickling in. And she was even speaking on her own podcast because Chelsea Green's just making the rounds left and right, man. She's interviewing with Cultaholic, and now she has her own podcast, 50 Shades of Green. And she is talking about her experience with Matt Cardona, her significant other, while she got that box. And it says right over here, you guys can see it on screen, saying, quote, I brought that box straight into the kitchen and Matt and I opened it, and inside was a box with a nice fresh plastic effing bag full of brim. Before I tell you,
now you know why they were so mad about this. This wasn't just like one person who got this.
Yeah. Before I tell you the contents of my box and my garbage bag, I want to make it clear that after talking to all the other females, I believe that every single person who have been released who is a female has received this garbage bag. Gail Kim put it out there as well. This is a trend. This is a long trend. Green continued. Matt was pissed. Matt was really pissed. And he wanted me to tweet it. He wanted me to talk about it. And I didn't feel comfortable. I got my trash bag. Upon further inspection, the trash bag, I started to realize I'm not really sure what's inside this trash bag. I first pulled out some black boots, beautiful black boots, but not my black boots. I then pulled out a second pair of black
compliment
boots.
The boots. They are great. They're not my boots, but they are great looking boots.
Exactly. They're not great. Now here, there's a third item, and the third item is, the most gorgeous leather shrug with studs and diamonds with flappy things and pink jewels and all sorts of things. If you know women's wrestler, you know who that person is. It's going to be Natalya. She got Natalya stuff delivered to her. That is crazy. So the question here is, and here's a picture.
Adorable dog.
Adorable dog. Here's the picture of the stuff that she got. So, dude, this is crazy because that makes me think, was Natalya in this conversation? Was Natalya being, planned out to being released? I mean, I would
hope.
I hope not.
I know when these come up, people always say, well, who's the next person to get released? And I hate that question. And if any question we get asked doing Sportskeeda stuff or just talking to fans, I never want to talk about someone losing a job. Like, what is that? But I get where fans like, I'm not whatever, cut this guy. Let this guy go from my team. Like, that's your team, right? Mr. James Espanto Fernando texting and says Natty gets no respect. I think she's getting more respect. I will say I think she's going to go in the Hall of Fame whenever she retires. I think she's one of those first ballot Hall of Fame people. I know some people who are on the female side of wrestling they're very much that came up with Total Divas just don't like Natty. They're just I don't want to see Natty out there.
Crazy.
And I think Natty absolutely deserves her place. And I think this is weird. I hope this isn't a reflection of Natalya, that she was in that position, but there were some people that were with the company for a long time that were in this batch releases. Mojo Rawley was with the company for a long, long time. Bo Dallas, even though he hasn't been used by the company over a year, he was under contract for a long time. So, I mean, something to be said here. And also, there's something to also be said where this same article we have with Chelsea Green, she says some nice things about the company and says, like, they understood it was a problem. They reached out. They flat out reached out. They sent us flowers, and she read the card. And some people say, oh, it's bad. But, like, that's them saying, that's a mea culpa, all right? I don't know how many married long-term relationship dudes are out here. But if you have to get flowers and it ain't a birthday and it ain't Valentine's Day, what'd you do, dude? Sometimes it's a lot. Sometimes it's you were late to getting to dinner with her parents, right? You got to do something. All right. But if you're getting flowers, you did something wrong.
Yeah.
And I at least like that WWE at least tried to handle this in some way. Because listen, they're going to make these cuts. They're a publicly traded company. There's pressure under them that other companies don't have. And it's worth noting, other companies do not have to be as public about their releases with people.
They're very true.
Can have non-disclosure agreements about when you are released from your contract and when you can talk about being released from your contract. And publicly traded companies cannot do that in some cases. And these deals are all over the place. This summer is going to be very interesting when wrestlers like Chelsea, who's already made allusions to going to Impact, right? Are going to show up and get on that wide open market, which I think is going to explode at some point.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think this summer I have a strong feeling that independent wrestling is going to come back stronger than ever with all this released talent just here in Florida, in Orlando. Dude, the shows are racking up with former talent like you wouldn't believe. So this summer is going to be a treat for all wrestling fans.
We'll sneak this one question in here from James Espanto from Nando Click, who's excited about Andrade calling out Omega before we sign off. We got to talk about this. This is another big story coming together.
Huge
story. Andrade, fresh off getting out of WWE before that big batch releases, calls out Kenny Omega, who is not just the AEW champion, the Impact champion. He's also the AAA Mega champion.
He's he's a professional wrestling equivalent of Thanos right now in search of the Infinity Belt Gauntlet.
It doesn't end there. Last night, Wrestling Dontaku in Japan, New Japan Pro Wrestling, they have Jay White. He wins their kind of like their intercontinental title right now, the Neverweight title, takes out Hiroshi Tanahashi, a legend, and he's the leader of the Bullet Club there. He's now calling out a belt collector. He calls himself the real belt collector. So Kenny Omega, the whole world wants to fight Kenny Omega right now at the moment. If you want to find out who wants to fight Kenny Omega or who wants to fight anyone, you should be downloading the Sportskeeda app, available in the Google Play Store and the Apple Store as well. You get all of the articles from AEW, you get everything going on. Maybe you want to follow the Olympics this summer. Some big news with them. We have all that in one app, the #1 sports app in India. It could be the #1 sports app for you, just a couple of clicks away. We also have a Sportskeeda wrestling app too, if you just want the wrestling specific one. Thank you guys so much for your support of the show. We will be back with Legion of Raw later on tonight. Dr. Chris Featherstone, Vince Russo, hot takes from them. We'll have breaking news updates in the afternoon now as well. Jump in, make sure those notifications on, subscribe. I know you enjoy wrestling. Am I correct, Jose?
Oh, I absolutely do, Kevin.
I also enjoy wrestling. And when watching wrestling, the most important thing you can do is what, Jose?
Enjoy wrestling.